Hey guys, welcome back to the podcast. I'm joined today by Alex. Alex, welcome back. Thanks for coming.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, so Alex has done, all sorts of construction stuff through the years.
Absolutely, yeah.
But the thing that I wanted to talk about today is house flipping. So, can you talk for a bit about your background on that?
Sure, sure. Yeah, I've been involved at least 31 projects ranging from an ugly house to, Newport Beach, where their
Right.
houses were millions of dollars. So I had fun in all avenues. I really love going into a stinky home and having it be so dirty. The one house that we were involved in Vista, California, literally, I couldn't open up the front door. I made an offer without even getting into the house because he was a
Wow.
hoarder. And so there was so much boxes and everything.
Uh-huh.
His children just said, "Look, Dad, you can't live alone anymore." So one of the daughters took him into her home, but they didn't even touch the house. So I
Right.
tried to force my way in through the front door, but it wouldn't open. So, anyways, I had fun times doing things like that, and I loved being in Newport Beach too, only, to, be discouraged after putting in the $12,000 fridge in every nook and cranny that I fixed up, and the buyer ended up just gutting the house and starting all over again. So sad.
Uh-huh. Yeah, so how did you start getting into that?
Well, I really saw an opportunity with just, the sales. I was noticing that, and mind you, this is like 25 years ago, I saw that the prices were really low.
Mhm.
And so that kind of intrigued me. So I put in an offer, even lower, and they accepted it. So that was really strange to me. And of course, there's so much money left in that with
Right.
the purchase of a low price. I was able to fix it up. And even while we were fixing stuff up in the house, already people would stop by and make offers. And I told them, yeah, you're smart because this way we can paint it to the colors that you want. So many of the projects we just sold even before
Before they were even done.
before they were done. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
So that's my background experience. I've done it all. I've heard it all. And I love doing it. I just love converting a house and having the neighbors go, God, how did you do that in 3 weeks?
Wow. I didn't I so I mean, I've never done anything like that. No experience at all
Oh, I'll show you. No
in house
problem.
flipping.
Yeah.
But yeah, what you said 3 weeks. What are the timelines like?
Well, it's just an army. I put an army. There's,
Uh-huh.
4 guys on the roof. There's 3 guys on the drywall inside. And then there's 3 guys on the landscaping, moving rocks and clearing up the backyards and stuff. So, yeah, there's always an army there. And that's why, we were able to do it in 3 weeks because I would pre order the cabinets. Everything's
Mhm.
really a cycle after a while. And that's what we did. We just plowed through it, got it out of there so that we could sell it quicker.
Right.
Simple.
That's just incredible.
Yeah, simple math. I loved it.
Yeah, so a lot of houses around San Diego, all of Southern California, right? They were built in like the 70s, 80s, around there, and a lot of them have never had like a major remodel. So when you go in, what are you looking to do?
Well, it's an interesting question, and I'll tell it to you the way it is. I walk into a house when I'm looking, walking around, see if I'm capable of fixing it. I start looking at different things like from the front door, we want to make it look as big as possible, even though it's a small
Right.
house. So by making the wood planks go the length from the front door to the back sliding glass door, we don't go this way, horizontally.
Mhm.
We go vertically all the way back to the sliding glass door because it
Interesting.
gives a perception that wow, this is a big place. And so that's how I look. I see if which walls am I going to have to punch out? that won't interrupt the flow of that wood floor plank going from the front door to the back sliding glass door, in one motion without having walls interrupting it.
Wow. Yeah, that's really interesting.
Isn't that funny? I mean,
Yeah.
you're thinking changes, and then even a lot of the kitchens were really small, and they would
Mhm.
always have walls right up front at the front entrance. There's a wall there, so that always had to go down. And then the kitchens, hey, if there was a wall there with a bunch of upper cabinets or something, we knocked it all down because we wanted to give it a more open concept feel. So those are the things that I would look for. How much work, how many walls.
Right.
Yeah.
And are you always just completely redoing the whole house?
Yeah, it's best. I tried saving stuff before and it didn't work because it took me like 3 times as long to try and match paint colors inside.
Right.
Uh, it's just best to gut it out and start all over again. Cabinets as well. I
Mhm.
used to refinish them, so sand them all down, but that took at least 1 week. 2 guys sanding and restaining or whatever, and I just said, "This is
In the end, it's
ridiculous."
less work just to
L-
get new ones.
Less work and less money. You would think
Really?
that you would save by staining all those cabinets.
Yeah.
You don't, because in that 1 full week, 2, 3 guys, by the
The
time you
labor
pay their
costs.
wages,
Right.
it takes 1 day to install cabinets from,
Yeah.
any source at all, including Home Depot. Home
Mhm.
Depot had very good prices where you could do the whole kitchen for like 24.99. It's
Wow.
great. It was
Oh,
really great. So you just learn to gut it and just move on to the next one.
got you. Yeah. So what about like landscaping and stuff? Do you design the whole thing?
Well, you have to, because the key thing is most of the time, the women purchase the house.
Really?
Yeah, you would think that guys, and my experience has been, I don't know. What do you think, dear? And the wife says, I love it.
Right.
So then I knew I had a sale.
Mhm.
But mostly the women decide, and so you want to appeal to them as much
Right.
green as possible and as many bushes as possible with contrasting colors of the brown or even that purple. There's some plants that look so, so beautiful and they're
Absolutely.
multicolored. And so when women pull up, you've technically got about 3 seconds. Either she's going to say, ugh, let's get out of here, or she's going to say, man, I love that. And that's what you're going for. You just want to give that little wow, including just like screwing simple, around the windows, anything, even shutters, 2 shutters on either side. You don't believe how it makes it much more warmer and appealing. So
Right.
we'd put shutters up, we'd put up a bunch of colorful bushes right up front. The backyard, not so much. And then you say that, hey, when you move in, we'll be glad to finish the backyard for you the way you want it finished. But mostly it's just the front yard.
Gotcha. Wow. Yeah. So I guess once you find a property that you want, and you kind of know what you want to do with it, um, how do you go about finding the right contractors to actually get the work done?
Well, I had a couple of them, but in the end, I just said, "Look, I'm just going to do this," because they keep asking me, "Okay, so what are we going to do here? What are we going to do?" Well, I might as well do it myself, and that's really what I ended up just being my own contractor.
Gotcha. Gotcha. So
And
you actually were out there directing the work and making
I've
sure
I've
everything was
learned that I was going to make the most amount of money if I'm
right.
there
Right.
answering questions immediately because, the landscapers, I never did any landscaping.
Right.
I left it to the professionals or plumbing.
Hmm.
Electrical for sure, I didn't wanna touch. That's
Right.
the last thing that I needed is some, electrical fire or something. So always use professional licensed contractors. However, when it came to the general contractor, that was just me. I just figured
Right.
I better take care of it and answer all their questions immediately.
Yeah. So no delays on on work or
No
anything.
delays, no delays, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. So what are some of the challenges that you run into when you're doing renovations like that?
some of the challenges are very, very subtle. You don't even think about it. Hey, let's move that wall right there. Let's make the kitchen bigger.
Mhm.
And all of a sudden, while they're knocking down the wall, there's a gas pipe coming through the
Oh,
center, from the ground to the
uh-huh.
ceiling. That's kind of scary. It's like, okay, now what do we do?
Right.
And so at first it was scary, but then you realize, so you call the plumbing guy and he reroutes it under the floor, through the wall, and up into the attic. Okay, $500 later, problem resolved. So those are some things that are really scary. And of course, I knew what to look for, but a cracked slab was a no-go for me because you really have to have it all doweled correctly, and if you don't, it will crack. 2 years later, they're going to call you and say, "Hey, I got a big crack down the middle of my living room."
Right.
And
Yeah,
so
that
those
wouldn't
are
be
the
good.
things that you just have to know. And then when there was a good buy, for sure, I would just jackhammer the whole living room and
Mhm.
re-cement it. Then there is no cracks, because there really is a process. You got to get an engineer to draw it up, and then
Mhm.
you have to have an inspection, and then a third inspection, and after a while, it's like, it's just as easy. Uh, cost me what, 300-400 bucks to jackhammer the front living room and just
Mhm.
re-cement it in. So that's kind of what we did, but definitely scary stuff to someone who doesn't know.
Yeah, like, I mean, I would I wouldn't know what to do if I
Yeah.
was there. How do you get the experience to be able to do that?
Well, that's it. You get experience from
Just by
experience
doing it?
itself. You
Yeah.
just start with that first phone call from my guy saying, "Hey, there's a gas line in the middle. We don't want to knock it." So,
Mhm.
of course, guys are a little more scared. But for me, I say, "Okay, well, first, why don't you go to the side of the building and shut off the gas?"
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and then, of course, they would laugh and say, "Okay, I guess that's why you're the boss." So I had to, learn
Uh-huh.
all those things right up front, but it seems like everything is correctable. There
Mhm.
really isn't anything, um, yeah, guess the worst comes to worse, I guess if the roof is caving in and there's a bunch of rotted wood, yeah, in the trusses and all that good stuff, okay, you're gonna have to really pay a lot of money to fix it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously, we know all about all
Yes, we
about that.
do.
Um, so have you ever worked on a property that was kind of with a roof, like, literally caving in?
I wasn't, only because I knew to stay away from it, because
Right.
that equals
You
and
know better.
I just knew better, because I know once there's any problem with the roofing, you have to get it fixed. Like, you
Right.
can't sell it as is if the guys pull up and they see a
Yeah.
caved in roof. So I've learned that, wait a minute, by the time I pay for an engineer, because you got to redesign the
Mhm.
trusses, you pay all of that. In the end, it would have been better just to pass on that house and go to the next one. There was so many. My goodness, I was buying houses from like the B of A, and it really was crazy how many houses were in foreclosure. And so, the banks are just dumping properties, and sometimes they would put packages of 3 buildings or
Mhm.
3 homes or whatever. And you just bid on it, and then all of a sudden you get scared when you get it, because darn it, I should have knocked off another 25 grand, but
Yeah.
the banks were just wanting to get rid of the properties. So it was a real prosperous time.
Right, yeah. Um, I mean, is it still like that today?
No, because of the houses, like, not I'm not a professional, you know, that can say, okay, this happened and that happened, but definitely when, the COVID scam, or I mean plan came out, then yeah, the reality was, everybody just got scared, so they stayed home,
Right.
and then they started um, fixing up their houses.
Mhm.
And then all of a sudden, house sales were increased. nobody was moving out because they just improved their house.
Right.
So it's a strange thing, but since COVID, property values just kept going up. Everybody just kept asking for more money. And so now it's hard to get, or at least in San Diego County, definitely hard to get a ugly house for 250 grand like we used to before.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it would have to be a really ugly
A
house
really ugly out.
at that point. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So let's talk more about like what kind of renovations you do. So obviously you tear out walls, tear out floors. Would you like tear out roofs and redo those as well, or is the old one usually good?
The usual is that it was never really good.
Hmm.
Um, they people, and no disrespect to people, but sometimes they just let everything go, and then they know they're going to lose the house to foreclosure anyways. So then they really don't spend any money at all. And so
Right.
usually we started with the roof. We had to
Hmm.
replace it no matter what, even if
Gotcha.
it was in pretty good shape, unless it really, was bad. Um, it's something that really shouldn't stay. And even the tile roofs, what we ended up doing is my guys would power wash the tile roof off with all the
Hmm.
mold and mildew and everything. It would all, be power washed. And then I developed a tile roof paint. And so I would spray the brown or the gray color and it looked brand new for 25% of the cost.
Right.
So that was a great opportunity to people pulling up think, oh, okay, good. I got a nice new $20,000 roof when in fact it was just power washed and
Right.
painted. Yeah. And it
Yeah, and of
lasted. I
course,
mean,
tile roofs generally last for a really
they
long
do.
time.
Yeah, exactly. They're cement. And so all they need to do is porous. And so by the time we put in our sealers, uh, it doesn't grow moss. And some of the houses that I went back 15, 20 years later, it still looked good. So it's not like it fades out in 2 years. So that made me feel good that at least I didn't take advantage of anyone. I clearly always told them
Absolutely.
everything the way it was. Okay, and this, that, and the other thing.
Hmm.
So I want to disclose as much upfront as possible
Right.
so that it's on record, in the actual realtors' computers that this is the disclaimers that I had and, the things that I done. Because they do ask you, okay, what improvements did you make? And
Yeah.
so the roof for sure, you start with the roof and then you go down.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So I know you said most of your work has been in San Diego and around here. And of course our markets you said not super great at the moment for finding those deals, but in other parts of the country they are. Is it kind of the same process wherever you go?
Absolutely. No, I was excited because what I would do is I would just put a deposit, right? Open up escrow, and then I'd call my buddies who are looking for houses. I'd tack on 30, 40 grand and they would still buy them. So I was making a ton of money just by being the middleman. I
Mhm.
don't have to, start escrow. And then, of course, everyone thinks, well, no, don't you have to have a real estate license, a contractor's license? Do you have to? It's like, no, you're just,
Right.
tying up the property. And that's the key word. And yes, to those flippers out there, you know what I'm talking about. Tying up the property is the key. So once you tie up the property, and that can come from many reasons. Oh, my mom passed away. I don't want to do anything with the house. I'm in New York. Can you just take it and,
Hmm.
move on with it? And so that would happen. Like I said, with the hoarder's house, his children took him back in. They don't even want to come in and move one box. I mean,
Right.
it's to that level. And they might be 2 blocks over
Yeah. And
and they still don't want to
it's
come in.
just so much work to clear it
It
out. It's
is.
just not worth it for
It
them.
is. I think I spent on that house about $5,000 just
Just
taking all
clearing
the
stuff out.
carrying the stuff out. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I
Wow.
mean, it was
I mean, just
unbelievable.
truckloads for sure.
Truckloads and garbage binfuls. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
crazy.
I mean, for that one, like, do you have to knock some stuff down to get rid of it? I mean,
Well, some of it was, yeah.
yeah.
Even just like because there's bigger stuff, it's not all boxes. And so, yeah, sometimes you have to go open up the window and add 5 feet on either side and
Right.
throw stuff out.
Yeah.
So it was always fun. It was always an adventure,
Yeah.
you never
Yeah.
know. But the key thing is you got to tie up the property.
Mhm.
And so it doesn't matter where, because and please feel free to call us. I'll be glad to share that with you. Um, I'm thinking uh, Ohio. I mean, literally in a little small town in Toledo, Ohio, you could place the offers, you could tie them up, you could resell it without touching it. There's so many other ways of making money, but even then, it's the same principle. It's the same process. It's
Right.
really funny how that works. You could literally be flipping houses all over the US of A.
Right. Yeah. So when you say tying up the property, right? So I guess then you have an option. You can either resell it as it, like you were saying, to your friends looking for a property in that area, or you could try and flip it yourself, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So, and I mean, that's a valuable, really valuable service to just like find that property for the person. Cause like, I mean, just I would pay a ton of money for like to have like the right property at the right price and know that someone else kind of looked it over, right?
Yeah, yeah, because
Yeah,
you have confidence. If you're buying from me, you know that my integrity comes first, and there's no way I'm going to sell
absolutely.
you, whatever slab infested, cracked, and God knows what.
Yeah,
The trusses are all rotting. I would never do that
yeah,
personally. But by all means, yeah, they
yeah,
were
and
definitely
they're
trusting me because I kept reselling, and that's kinda how I ended it with just tying up properties. I didn't even go out there anymore, and especially, like, if it's in Ohio somewhere or, you know, up in Lake Arrowhead or whatever, more closer, it's the same process. You just wanna tie it up and say, "Okay, here, I wanna open up escrow and let's get going," and
right.
then that's how it works,
Yeah.
so
Have you ever done a remodel without ever seeing the property?
well, I heard stories, crazy stories.
Of course.
So I definitely
Just stayed away from that.
I stayed away from it. An acquaintance of mine, um, he ended up fixing up a house in like north of Palm Springs somewhere.
Mhm.
And so the guy was sending pictures of what the remodeling was going good. So every 10 days he was sending pictures. And the guy was so happy, man, this is great. I don't even have to drive 2 hours away. Oh, yeah. The contractor that he entrusted was taking pictures of another remodel that he's doing,
Oh my
and he did
god.
nothing. He just kept taking
Oh,
money from this
no.
poor sucker. And
Uh-huh.
eventually, that sucker got taken and, realized, well, I better drive over there and check it out. So he
Right.
did. And sure enough,
And nothing done.
nothing was
Wow.
done. But here he's already sent 100 grand,
Right.
to this contractor. So
That's
that's why I have to have my eyes on it.
yeah.
I
Yeah,
have to check
I
up
can
on it.
imagine.
Oh, yeah. Even if you're flying back east, so you spend $500 there and back, it's well worth it just
Yeah,
to
just
make
to
sure.
make sure that what
Yeah,
make sure that what you bought is even real. Yeah.
exactly, exactly.
Yeah. Wow. Well, let's see. Yeah, we've been going for a while, so
Well,
we'll
I can go as long as you want.
yeah, yeah, we'll schedule another time,
Okay.
and we'll get it done. But yeah, for now, thank you so much for coming on.
You're welcome.
I really appreciate it, and yeah, we'll have you back for sure, and
Okay,
we'll
just let
keep
me know
talking.
when.
All right. Thank you for watching. Thank you, Alex. And we will see you later. Bye.
Ciao.